else in the world, despite a hostile conflict that has impacted supplies. And today, almost every rating agency and financial institution agree on one thing: India is the best recovery story. That's Nari Shakti. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome India's Finance Minister, Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman. Ma'am, can I please request you to come on stage here for your opening remarks?
Good afternoon. I'm extremely happy to be here of Pravasi Bharatiya Divas. And I've been requested to talk on a particular topic. I'll try to make it as simple as it can be, although the topic says harnessing the potential of diaspora entrepreneurs towards an inclusive approach to nation building. So essentially, harnessing your potential in making sure that India has an inclusive growth, and that growth leads to a nation building, a nation which is reaching 100 years of independent India. In the So, first let us recognize that India today is very aspirational. There was a time between 47 and, let us say, 1990s when India thought it's our destiny to be slow in our growth. We will go slow, but we'll have to now toil to match up with the world's expectations, and so on. But post 1991, we opened ourselves at least somewhat to the globe. And when we opened ourselves, we saw many more talents coming into India, investments coming into India, and expectations that we should match the world standards. In very many products that you produce, be it in the processes that you have, be it in the way in which decision makings will have to happen. So I'm playing on this word, global standard. Even as in 1991, we were trying to become opened, bring in the world, and we also produce and serve the world. But that, even as it started where we were expecting to match up with global standards, kept changing. And today, I'm happy to say, and I'm sure many of you already recognize, that on very many scores, we are setting the standards. So where were we in 1991 and where are we today will show that the movement from a reconciled position of, there is a certain limitation to the extent that we can grow. There's a certain limitation about the level of technology that we can use. There's a limitation about the resources that we can have and demand services. From then to today, because of the aspirational engine that is operating from among us, the way in which we've progressed is far speedier and also setting standards. So it's an aspirational India, which is looking at participating in the world, move forward. But in the recent last 2 years, we've had the challenges posed by the COVID. But however, recognizing that you're 32 million Indians abroad, many of whom still carry your Indian passports, but many of whom, whether you carry the passport or not, are looked up to as the model community, that model community, that exemplar community, which lives subsuming itself into the newer society into which you've been living for some generations, some of you for generations, and some of you for decades. But you've subsumed yourself, you absorbed the local culture, and you're living there well and contributing to the economy there. At the same time, you've not forgotten the Indian roots that you have, and therefore, people who look at you as exemplar communities who contribute very well, who live in a law abiding way, and above all, also maintain your original land of origin contacts. So you've been very a community which has made India very proud. You're 32 million in numbers, not small at all. If the world's largest diaspora that you are, you're also making significant contribution towards India's own development. And that is where holding Pravasi Bharatiya Divas or Pravasi Bharatiya Meet is of very important significance for India to stay connected with you who are all over the world today. And I think there's no part of the world where there isn't an Indian community which is vibrant and active. So, if that is the way in which today's realities are, and India surely strives to keep that touch with you, connect with you, and you love to keep in touch with your own homeland, it is natural, it's only natural, therefore, Honorable Prime Minister sees you all as the real ambassador for India. You're the ones who speak for India, represent India, carry the Indian brand forward, and it is you who build an image about India that you're hardworking, you're law abiding, that you contribute to the societies in which you live, and above all, set standards for ways in which an immigrant community can go and contribute to any one country without causing any disruptions or wrong, let's say, ruptures in the society. So the real ambassadors are before me, and I'm very happy to address you because the way in which Honorable Prime Minister has been speaking about the next 25 years as Amrit Kal. You know the word Amrit. There cannot be a better word of saying for saying what it's going to be. It's the time when it's going to be nectar like for every one of us to energize ourselves from the nectar and equally joyfully enjoy that taste, that spirit, that sense that we're going through a good period. So if you, the real ambassadors, are before me and we are talking one on one and also to a group, and I'll also be further engaging with a certain group of diaspora from among you to whom I'll have a lot more informal interactions. So within India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi repeatedly says anything that we do, any policy that we make, any action that follows, and also the execution, keeping an alert, a watch on the administration, all that is enabled by Jan Bhagidari, meaning by people's participation. So if Jan Bhagidari is the one which is going to play a very big role in keeping the administration alert, nimble, and also to deliver, I think Jan Bhagidari also has a component of the real ambassadors who are before me. Your Bhagidari, your participation is very important in India's next 25 years. So, even as he talks about Jan Bhagidari, the role of government is not in silos. The government functions as one, whole of government approach is taken. It's not as if one minister can say, no, that belongs to whatever department or this one belongs to rural development. All of us put our ideas together and work together in such a way that government's decision is one whole decision and it comes with everybody's input. Each of us take our responsibility and the delivery, therefore, is of this government. Then in the collective effort, therefore, the participation of the Indian diaspora will also have to find its own channels so that you come in to give us inputs on the way in which policy has to be made. You come in to say how it's being affected in the ground, and further also to tell us whether it is helping you to have greater connect and integration or not. In a way, it means we expect, and you also would want to feel that next 25 years, if India has to have a wholesome growth, it needs Indianness everywhere. It also has to have greater standards brought in into India's administration. In a way, you are playing the role of the real ambassadors. It means you're going to promote India, promote Indian brand, and for that brand to be promote worthy, you're going to give us the inputs to say, please do this, please don't do this, so that the brand actually becomes a valuable brand and that you will be very happy to promote. And in the process of also using the brand, you will also, where possible, make sure use India produced goods and services. Where possible, you will look up to or look around to make sure that you get the India products, India services, so that even as you promote Indian brand, you're also seen around possessing, using, and dispensing India made goods and services. Even better, to serve the topic that I'm talking about, the harnessing of the potential of Indian diaspora entrepreneurs, particularly women, and for the purpose of an inclusive development in nation building. The next point that I would like to tell you or put forward for your consideration is, even as you promote the Indian brand India, even as you surround yourselves with India made goods and services, I would invite you to partner with Indian businesses, small, medium, big, nano, partner with them so that India in the next 25 years gets your potential for the entrepreneurial skills that you may have. So Indian businesses here get that advantage from you, and together we build that India which can be developed by 2047. For this, you really don't have to search around as to how you do this. How would you achieve that? Yes, we will buy Indian goods and services. Yes, we'll promote brand India. But how do we at all partner Indian businesses? Simple things which I put forward before you. Large businesses, of course, search for their partners and get it because of the sectoral specializations that they have. But today, the way in which Prime Minister has promoted India in every bit of it, by taking up, for example, one particular thing that I put before you. Prime Minister actually suggested that India doesn't have to look at what products it produces, one thing which is big, one thing which is known, but every district in India has one or the other product which is unique in its own case and which is sought after for some special qualities it has. It can be a natural produce like basmati rice, but it can also be handicraft products like very many of you are familiar, whether it is the Banarsi silk, whether it is the Kanchivaram silk, whether it is the Mysore silk, or whether it is handicrafts, the bronze work of Muradabad, or the bronze again from south, which comes with beautiful iconography, or whether you're looking at spice-based products. So every district today has been identified for that one unique product. Government and state government are working together. You have one district, one product identified for active promotion of exports of that particular product. Now, there are several participatory roles which I can envisage for the Indian diaspora. You can look at coming and giving them technology that is required. You can look at how handmade products can be promoted by better packaging. And you can identify the local area in which you live, whether they would want to buy more of it. I'll give you the example. I visited Nagaland. They do wonderful bamboo based materials. They're also very good at weaving, hand weaving of materials. And when I went there, probably in October, they were making wonderful Christmas tree decorations, also tableware, the runners and placemats and everything of such quality. And they were selling it or exporting it to countries which wanted them in bulk for their Christmas celebrations. Similar was the way in which some handmade knitted products from South. You know, machine-made knitted products are finding bulk markets, but unique market products which are handmade are also finding. So you would probably have more acquaintance with the districts from where you have gone abroad to identify those products and be of some contribution to help them to see how they can improve, how their packings can be better done, and how they can find markets and so on. Similarly, how low cost and very affordable technologies emerge from India, be it the mission, the spacecrafts that we make. They are, in fact, some of them very catchily told me once that the cost of the Chandrayaan, which goes to the moon, is far lesser than a Hollywood film. So, if that is the way you were to look at it, we are producing goods, innovative goods, frontier technology goods at a cost which is far lesser than producing a film or even building a small unit which can produce certain goods or services, or even a good holiday for an entire football team abroad. So, if that is the level at which affordable technologies are being made in India, I'm sure with your participation, with your inputs, they can better be produced and better find markets as well. I recognize that the remittances which come from abroad by Indians who migrated is about 100 billion US dollars for the year 2022. One of the highest remittances which is coming. This has gone up 12% between 21 and 22 within a year, which is post pandemic. People thought probably Indian workers will not go back abroad again. They have actually gone up, not only gone back, but more have gone, found very useful employment, and that the remittance numbers have gone up by 12% within 1 year. I want to put that before you just so that you recognize the contribution that the Indian diaspora is making to the Indian economy. Um, Actually, India is focusing, I can say with confidence, for the next 25 years, India is focusing on four I's. Four as a number and I's. In fact, I would even say four ins, INs. First is infrastructure. We are focusing on that for the next 25 years. We need better infrastructure. Investment, therefore, the second I. Third is innovation. We want more innovation so that we can have in situ solutions for India's problems, which have been festering us for several years, several decades. So, infrastructure, investment, innovation, and finally, inclusion. All this will have to lead to inclusive growth, and that is where we need all the four I's, four ins: investments, infrastructure, innovation, and inclusion. We try to facilitate visit of people coming in and going out, e-visa. I don't want to elaborate on that. You know whether it is working well or not. But what I would project to you, even as we have a real skill of the Indian diaspora, is India is becoming a knowledge hub. There's just no doubt. And I can expand this in several ways. Other than the fact that most globally reputed and coveted awards are being won by Indians, the Nobel Prize, for instance, in the 21st century, we've already had 4 Indians get Nobel Prize. You must have heard of the names of V. Ramakrishnan, V.S. Naipaul, Kailash Satyarthi, and also Abhijit Banerjee. All of them have got Nobel. So, with the Fields Medal for Mathematics, Magsaysay Award for Social Science, Prize for Writing, Pulitzer Prize. So, Indians are there getting some of the coveted awards. But if that is just for writing and speaking and so on, and also for science, you also have Indians making every component that is so desirable in one or the other industry. I'll just give you a couple of examples. 14 out of 15 diamonds which are cut and polished anywhere in the world is made and cut and polished in India by Indians. 14 out of 15 diamonds are being cut and polished by Indians. Similarly, for any car that you would buy and use abroad, there's at least one component which is going into it made in India. Any car. You also find that production itself is nowadays focusing, coming in India and doing even for the high-end goods. Lockheed Martin is producing the wings for F-16 aircrafts, fighter jets that is, in India. And from here, it exports to all those F-60 assembly points. Similarly, Airbus plans to manufacture C-295 aircrafts in Dholera and Gujarat sooner. They've tied it all up. So that manufacturing is also going to happen here. You also know that very many MROs are happening in India. The maintenance and repair of aircrafts are all going to be centered in India. Are all being established in India. So that clearly tells you that the knowledge base emanates from India, and that is going to be the way it is for the next at least 25 years. In this most important point that I'd like to present before you, 2,000 chips are annually designed in India. It may be manufactured elsewhere, but they're designed in India by semiconductor companies which are here. And almost 90% of all chip makers have a design footprint in India. So it's not that low value items, but even the high value items are now being produced in India. Now, the semiconductor design engineers, how many do you think are there in the world? Semiconductor engineers who are design engineers. Can you make a rough guess? They are about 6 lakhs or 600,000 to 700,000 design engineers globally. And 1/10 of that is in India. And I like to say, as a member of parliament from Karnataka, that the outer ring road of Bangalore, this might sound like a factoid to you. Outer ring road of Bangalore, you will find a concentration of 50,000 to 70,000 design engineers who are in semiconductor designing, all of them present in that outer ring road area of Bangalore alone. So they are semiconductor design engineers who are at the heart of the semiconductor industry. That's all in the area of Bangalore. And many of them are now spreading to other areas as well. Now, India's software engineers are also writing the code that controls everything in the cars that you buy, or if you have a smart home, that you switch the geyser on, or your uh, food is getting warmed, even as you sit in your car and press the button. The codes are all written by Indian engineers. So let's not forget that is reflective in the fact that Mercedes-Benz, which has a R&D center in India, employs 7,500 such engineers and also 4,000 contractors who are working for the Mercedes-Benz R&D. So essentially look at the number for one company and also look at one sector which has its engineers present in India. I'm using these data to underline the fact that India is becoming a knowledge hub of the world. I can go on one more point, which is very important for electrical vehicles. Of the 100 million lines of code that is required for a driverless car, nearly 35% is written by Indians. But does it mean that we are centering everything in India and denying everybody else an opportunity that we can provide? Not at all. I quote the NASSCOM's report, which says Indian IT industries have registered 396 billion US dollars in sales to date, creating 1.6 million jobs and contributing 198 billion US dollars to the US economy. So you're creating jobs there. Our IT companies are creating jobs there. So if anyone told you that everything is going off to Bengaluru, no, sorry, we are creating jobs in the US as well. Similarly, in 2021, again, this is a NASSCOM report, Indian IT companies in the United States directly hired 207,000 American employees in 2000, sorry, in the American employees with an average wage of 106,000 US dollars and registering a growth of about 22% over what it was in 2017. So if you had this feeling that pandemic came and probably we are not contributing anymore, no, that's not true. It is registered nearly 22% growth post the pandemic compared to what it was in 2017. So we are even contributing post the pandemic in creating jobs abroad, IT industry's contribution. I also want to recognize the fact that Indian IT sector has actually made North Carolina in emerging as a tech hub. It's Indian IT companies which have contributed to that one whole area, state's growth as tech hub. And this is a singular contribution by one sector from one country. So I honestly appeal to the Indian real ambassadors, our diaspora, to speak of these kind of achievements of India as well. So it is the benefits are spread across countries, across the globe, and not just centered in India. I can speak similarly about the contribution of Indian pharmaceutical sector. 69% of all the vaccine requirement of the globe is serviced from India. 69%. It is not just COVID-19. Prior to that and after that, beyond that, vaccines are India's contribution to the world. 69% goes from here. Similarly, made in India medicines in the domestic Indian pharma market is now more than 80% compared to 5% in 1969. So India is emerging as a pharmacy of the world. So when I speak about knowledge hub, these are the areas in which India's expertise is contributing not just to Indian economy, but also to the universe. Similarly, I want to highlight that we have the world's second largest biotech professionals. Second largest biotech professionals exist in India and they serve the world from here. That is why you find 1,400 World Health Organization recognized pharmaceutical plants in India. 1,400 of them exist here with WHO certification. 253 of them are even European Union certified. So it's not as if we are producing something, we certify ourselves, and that's the end of the story. They are recognized by WHO, recognized by European Commission, and all of them do certify. And the one simple measure to understand how India's pharmaceutical sector is growing is outside of the US. If there is any one country which has the maximum number of FDA approved producers of or manufacturers of drugs, it's India. I hope I have conveyed the intensity of this fact. Outside of the US, I'm repeating, outside of the US, FDA approved manufacturing of pharmaceuticals, if there is any one country which has outside of the US the biggest number, it is India. Nowhere else you will find it. And therefore, India is becoming a medical tourism hub. 2 million patients visit India just for medical treatment annually. And they come from 78 different countries. It's not as if just one country, which is a neighbor, sends 78 different countries they come from. So without, of course, adding more, the point is India is certainly the rich ground for knowledge-based activities, whether it is IT, it is pharmaceutical, it is engineering, it is aircraft, aerospace, or it is medical treatments. India is becoming the knowledge hub of the world. Uh, so the next 25 years, what are the strengths which we are going to play upon? We are going to play upon three things. One, the digital capabilities and the achievements which we have done by scaling up things, scaling up to such extent that very many countries are surprised that India can prove that it can scale up digital capabilities, be it in education, be it in health, COVID app, or even payments, or in the financial technology areas. So you'll be playing on the digital. We'll certainly be playing up on the demographic, because India is going to have nearly 68% of all its population in the working productive age group by 2030. So if all of them are going to contribute to the engine of growth for India, India certainly can be the engine of growth for the rest of the world as well. So we are going to make that difference in the revival of the global economy. And no wonder we are the fastest growing economy today, this year, as well the next year. And I see that probably being a very powerful engine for the global growth. On the climate concerns that you have, I just want to put in one word as to how India is committed. India has 17% of the world's population. Just please seize the number that I'm telling you. The numbers that I'm telling you, please seize them. 17% of the world's population lives in India. But we have only 5% of the global emissions from India. Only 5% of the global emission is emanating from India, which has 17% of the global population living here. But what about our commitment to climate action? 100%. We've already fulfilled what was committed in Paris, and towards fulfilling what has been committed in Scotland by Honorable Prime Minister, we are scaling up on renewable energy, be it solar, be it wind, be it also nuclear and hydroelectric. So we are well on course in achieving the nationally determined commitments. One last word on the diaspora and its strength. You know, the world has been talking about China plus one. So, can that plus one be India? Now I'm hearing EU plus one as well. So, people who are invested in China may want to continue there, but may also want to find another source from where they can produce and be a part of the global value chain. So India is that. And we would like to pit India as that plus one country when it comes to considerations of those manufacturers who want to get out of China or have one more place from where they can produce. So China plus one, we are actively making sure India becomes that successful plus one. But European Union as well, if they were going to go through a recession, which is a probability, which many people are now saying highly probable. So there is this temptation for many of the manufacturers who are located in Europe also to look at plus one. China plus one is ongoing. European Union plus one. And that plus one, again, can India fit in that role? Is the effort of the government of India to make sure that we are able to attract industries which are looking for also setting up elsewhere other than being in Europe. So if all this is happening, uh, with the presence of Indians everywhere, 58 globally leading companies have Indians heading the positions. They are corporations from 11 different countries whose revenue earnings cross 1 trillion US dollar and who actually have a market capitalization of 4 trillion US dollars. If 58 of them can have Indians, I'm sure many more of them can have Indians as well. But even more importantly, if this is where India is looking for talent pool and also contributing to the global talent pool, it will also be for India to serve being from India, but for the rest of the world as well. I've spoken about the digital thing already. We've achieved a lot. We would certainly like to have that available for the entire globe. In just one number, which will tell you the scale to which we have achieved, the UPI, the total transactions in UPI in 2022 was 125 lakh crores within 1 year. And how many transactions did it involve? 7,400 transactions took place, amounting to 125 lakh crores of Indian rupees. So that is the extent to which the digital payment portals have succeeded. So in conclusion, I just want to tell you that because of India's efforts, Honorable Prime Minister's effort to highlight the fact that for a healthy living, you need to have very many things which were inclusive of yoga being taken to the global scale. The year of millets, which is what is going to be this year, 2023, is also because India wants to highlight that if you found a quinoa from Latin America, there have been traditional cross gains in India, ragi, jawar, bajra, and so on, which are also very good for healthy living. So we are promoting that. This year, we shall also have the presidency of the G20, in which we've given a call that for very many considerations, whether it is harmony, whether it is climate action, India believes that it is one earth, one family, and therefore one future for all of which all of us will have to be committed. So the spirit is Vasudeva Kutumbakam, and I appeal to all of you, the Indian diaspora, the brothers and sisters who are representing India, carrying India's brand all over the world, and showcasing how exemplarily Indian communities living abroad can lead their lives. To all of you, my humble appeal, do participate in the Amritkal. Do participate in building that India which all of us can be proud of by the year 2047. And I thank the Honorable Prime Minister for giving us that kind of leadership which brings in stability, which brings in vision for a future, which believes in untiring hard work, which wants to give the people of India a corrupt free, transparent, and an efficient government. So, thank you all for being here today. Jai Hind.
Thank you, ma'am, for such encouraging words and for listing out the achievements of India and the role the Pravasi Bharatiya, who we will now be calling the brand ambassadors of India in the world during the Amrit Kal. With your kind permission, ma'am, I will now like to extend 6 invitations to women we should call the Shakti Punj or the orbs of power. Ladies and gentlemen, this session, Super 6, Ms. Meetu Bhaumik, Director of Mind Blowing Films and Director of IFFM, she has come from Australia. Ms. Sajini Anaka Reddy, co-founder and executive director of Vision Care Group of Companies and CEO of Savi Beach Resorts, she has come from Zambia. Ms. Kavita Parmar, founder and director of IOU Project from Spain. Dr. Poonam Gupta, OBE, UK entrepreneur and CEO of PG Paper from the United Kingdom. Ms. Devaki Kimji, Managing Director of Al Turki and Al Tasneem Groups from Oman. Ms. Maria Siddiqa Ashraf, Director of Contofield International School from Tajikistan. These women in their new homes, ladies and gentlemen, have brought joy as well as welfare. इनके कर्तव्य पथ कहीं भी हो, आत्मा में भारत है. They have delivered in different parts of the globe. Spirit is incredible, India. We are not only celebrating some entrepreneurs in India, we are showcasing the success stories of women and the families who have invested in them. So now we will be beginning the panel discussion, and after a brief introduction of all the panelists, the floor will be open for the audience. In case you have any questions for our guests, please go ahead. I'm a mere Sutradhar, ma'am. I will like to request each one of them to tell us their story. They went to other parts of the world as wives, as daughters, but have come back as entrepreneurs and making all of us very, very proud. With your permission, I'd like to request Dr. Poonam Gupta to tell us her struggles, her life's journey. With your permission.
Hello. Hi, I'm Poonam Gupta. Namaskar. And thank you for very motivating and informational speech, if I may say. I moved to Scotland 20 years ago. I was born and brought up in Delhi. I did what has just been mentioned, followed as a wife, my husband, who's Scottish Indian, started looking for a job there, and despite my double degree, nobody was offering me a job because I had no experience in the UK. So I thought about it, worked on multiple ideas which failed one after the other. And then at the time, people were talking about waste paper and how do we recycle. And being a keen reader, I started learning about them, and I managed to convince some manufacturers in Italy to sell me some of their product that I could sell to India. So in 2003, my business was born, PG Paper Company Limited, which is now operating in over 60 countries around the world. And COVID's been tough, but what we looked at, when we looked at COVID, we looked at India, and we started exporting products and manufactured in India. And we export over from 18 companies in India to now 27 countries around the world. We are also, and may I just mention that most of these products that I work in are all in sustainability, are environment friendly. I'm an entrepreneur, and an entrepreneur likes challenges. So I went into multiple fields today. I am in hospitality. I have investments in India. In fact, I am participating in the Amrit Kal in India, as I have multiple investments in startups in India, both in Mumbai and Bangalore. And in fact, we'll be visiting Bangalore in next couple of days. I took really unwell back in 2006, 2007, actually preparing to die. I was misdiagnosed with a 1-year-old child. But I've learned one lesson. I came through that period. I'm here now. Um, that when we focus our energy on positivity, it can help us get through life. At that time, it was my daughter and my young business which kept me going. And I never thought about what was actually wrong with me, even though I was terminally ill. Today, I have offices in 7 different countries and I sit on multiple boards, including being the chair of FICCI India UK Trading and Manufacturing Council. I take a lot of these positions with a single point agenda, connecting UK and India, and with this FTA, which is currently undergoing between the two countries, I hope that two of the nations will actually work stronger together. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Pitu Bhaumik.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here with us today. Good afternoon to you, Honorable Minister. And before we start, can I just please extend a huge thank you for the wonderful hospitality to the Government of India and the state government, and also a huge round of applause to the volunteers and the staff workers who've been on their feet working tirelessly, making us feel so welcome. Thank you. And thank you for the amazing street art, food, everything that we have experienced. My name is Meetu, and I have a film company based in Melbourne, which I started around 15 to 16 years ago. My background is films, arts, no business management at all. I got married and, like a good wife, followed my husband to Melbourne. I went very resentfully, I must add, because I had a good job here, promising career, lots of friends. And like you, my first job in Melbourne was clearing tables at Crown Casino because nobody would recognize the work that we did in India. And India was not so cool at that time. Like India now, everybody wants a piece of India. But at that time, most people's point of reference for India was Tendulkar and Taj Mahal. So, so it was a tricky time. But I loved watching movies. And when I went to watch a film in Melbourne, it was in an obscure theater, and there were two cardboard boxes. One had samosas, and in one you just put your money and you went in. And at that time, we still had 35 reels. So halfway through the film stopped because the film was playing at another cinema and the reel was coming from there. So it was really like worse than watching a film in a village. And I just felt so frustrated that I kept thinking there has to be a better way to watch films. We have to watch films, the films that we all love and that kind of unite the diaspora in a way, in cinemas, the way other films are being watched. So that's how I started pushing and pushing and pushing the Australian cinemas to start playing our films. Nobody wanted to know Indian films because we are very chaotic and disorganized. We've improved a little bit, but getting there. But thankfully, one of the chains allowed us, and since then, there's been no looking back. And I feel really proud to say that today, Australia is number 3 for Indian cinema in the international platform. Our films are regularly in the top 10 Australia box office, all Australian box office. Um, any cinema you go to in Australia, you will have not only Hindi films, but Tamil, Telugu, Punjabi, Marathi films screening there. And I feel so proud that our little company, which is all run by girls, is the only company in Australia that has won the highest grossing foreign film award in Australia. And the good thing about this is that whatever money we generate at the box office, a large part of it comes back to India, comes back to the film industry here. Um, as of today, almost 200 million Australian dollars is being generated at the Australian box office annually just by Indian cinema. And I'm sure that this will only grow. The other thing that our company does is the Indian Film Festival of Melbourne. And I'm very proud that that's the biggest festival of Indian cinema outside India. And the best thing about it is the cultural integration. I like to call it the cultural imperialism of India. And not only do Indian diaspora, but the whole subcontinent, people from other races, second generation Indians with their Australian friends, they all come and celebrate. We have a flag hoisting at Federation Square where everyone, right from our premier to ministers to local film lovers and Indians come. And that to us is very joyful because that is celebrating India, celebrating our heritage and culture, and giving back to the country that we might not be living in, but we dearly love. So thank you for having us here, and thank you for being such great hosts.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Miss Kavita Parmar from Spain.
Hello, hi. First of all, Namaskar Indore. Thank you so much, and thank you to MEA staff for inviting us here. This has been quite amazing. I haven't been back in India for 4 years. I did not realize how much I missed it. You could take a girl out of India, but you can't take India out of a girl, clearly. I was missing the smells, the sound, the sight, and even the crowds of India. I also wanted to thank you, Honorable Minister. As a young girl, what I wanted to be was like you. I wanted to be a politician. My parents thought it was not a good thing for a girl to be. I applied to London School of Economics, got through, but I wasn't allowed. So I left home, a very rebellious Army Air Force officer's daughter, and luckily fashion found me. I ended up going into the world of craft, learning how to handloom weave around all of Southeast Asia. I made clothes for pretty much everyone that you could imagine, Ralph Lauren, Calvin Klein, all the big brands, making production in India, China, all over, and very quickly realized how that was actually not helping the handloom industry at all. I moved to Spain. My husband works in AI and machine learning. He went to MIT, and I got very fascinated with technology. I'm not a tech girl. That's not my background. I write. I'm an arts and craft girl. But technology fascinated me, and I saw it as an opportunity in which I could really do something for the handloom weavers that I loved. So we started a project called the IOU project, where we wanted to give traceability and technology back to the weavers. Every single piece carried a code. You could scan it and you could get to see who the weaver was who made your piece. Why? Everyone knows the designer, but no one knows the name of the weaver. And that's why no young people want to be weavers. Everybody wants to be a designer. So for us, it was really important to use technology for those that we had left behind. As you said about knowledge-based, India has the largest knowledge base of traditional textiles. And it is a very complex and a very exquisite knowledge, and we cannot lose it. Knowledge is not just learning how to code, which is wonderful and we should all learn, but at the same time, knowledge has to do with all this amazing indigenous craft. IOU project won a lot of awards around the world. We made a film, which you can go online and see. It's quite wonderful because it's about Mahatma Gandhi and the weavers of India, and how India is the largest sustainable luxury textile company in the world as a country. We have more than 34 lakh weavers just in South India itself. So I think it's really important that the second generation learns how to weave. So we've now started as an entrepreneur. I was a woman on my own. I felt there was not enough mentoring around. So we've started a platform supported by the Mallorcan government, where we organize one of the largest festivals of sustainable textiles of the world. We bring people from all over. We do mentoring, we do education, training and teaching people of the next generation how maybe going forward has something to do with taking a look behind. There is knowledge from our ancestors that should not be discarded, that is way more sustainable. I always tell the West, where I'm living, that don't come to India and tell us what is sustainability. Let us teach you, because that is how we grew up. That is how we learned. If I go to a weaver's workshop in Bhuj, that is the most sustainable place, no electricity, making the most beautiful products in the world, using locally grown cotton that uses no water. So that's the work I do, and I'm excited to be here and share with you, and would invite all of you to come to Mallorca if you can, to come and see it, and I'm hoping I can bring the festival to India where it belongs. Thank you.
much. I will now like to invite Ms. Sajni Anaka Reddy and tell us in brief her story.
Namaste, India. Thank you, Indore, for hosting us, with your warm welcome, warm reception. Honorable Finance Minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman Garu, distinguished members of the panel, esteemed dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great honor and humility that I stand before you as a women entrepreneur of the Indian diaspora from Zambia. Many of you may not be knowing about Zambia. It is in Southern Africa. I hail from Hyderabad, Telangana, and I'm a microbiology and genetics graduate. And I started my entrepreneur journey at a very young age. I got married at 20 years, and then I had to travel following my husband to Kenya, and from there to Uganda. And then we wanted to relocate to Zambia. After living in a couple of countries, then we thought of venturing into Southern Africa. According to our survey back in 2004, there was immense potential in Zambia due to lack of skilled eye care professionals and relevant facilities. It presented us with the opportunity to administer affordable and professional eye care services to the people of Zambia. Many of you may not be familiar with my Karambhumi, Zambia. Let me just brief you. Zambia is a landlocked country which is very rich in minerals, semi-precious stones, the emeralds which we wear in the jewelry. 70% of them are coming from Zambia. It is famous for copper mining, and it has got exploitable deposits of manganese, lithium, cobalt, nickel, and gold. And the population of Zambia is over 19 million. Zambia is one of the fastest growing economies in Africa. And it is one of the best travel destinations, boasting many wildlife sanctuaries and the legendary Victoria Falls, which is one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. The English is the main official language in Zambia, and 72 other ethnic languages. And glad to say that the local government allocates 10.5% of its annual budget towards people's healthcare. When it comes to women's rights, Zambia is much ahead compared to many other developed countries. Similar to India, Zambia showcases diversity in every province. Zambia respects Indian culture and values. The Indian education system, they also trust the Indian medical system and doctors. In fact, there are many Zambian students pursuing their education in many universities in India. There is a saying in Sanskrit, Sarvendriyanam Nayanam Pradhanam. Eyes are important among all the senses. My husband being my side, a senior consultant optometrist, we co-founded Vision Care in 2005. As I begin my work in the eye care industry, I realized that my educational background did not offer me the technical edge that was required in this field, and hence I decided to study clinical optometry as my second degree. So as a practicing optometrist, I can be able to deliver the services effectively in addition to my very demanding administrative responsibilities. I'm very proud to say that Vision Care now is a group which has 8 companies under its umbrella with 32 branches in a couple of countries, and then in Democratic Republic of Congo also. So we are successfully delivering comprehensive eye care. Sorry about it. Eye care examinations and dispensing services with fully fledged optical lab to offer personalized prescriptions. Along the line, we have realized that we need to enhance our services and offerings to the needs of the patients with age-related eye problems and conditions that needed surgical interventions. So in 2008, we decided to introduce hospital services that offered wide range of surgeries. To be honest, it has not been a smooth endeavor, but satisfaction of being a part of something very big than myself was worth the effort. Post-COVID, we have decided to leverage the raw material supply chain from China to India due to the ease of doing businesses and single taxation approach. At the same time, we are contemplating to invest in medical tourism and lifestyle opportunities in India to enhance Make in India and offer the potential for exports and employment. As it is said in Sanskrit, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. This means the world is one family. We strongly believe that it is important to give back to the community which embraced us with open arms. More than 1% of Zambian population is suffering from avoidable blindness. As a corporate social responsibility, Vision Care conducts community outreach activities in many parts of rural Zambia to sensitize and treat those with no proper access to basic eye care and medical facilities. We have conducted free cataract surgeries to vulnerable people, creating awareness through our branch network. We offer free eye examinations to diagnose their eye problems. Accordingly, necessary eye treatments are sought. We are a strong team of over 150 trained Zambian nationals and as well as 30 Indian nationals qualified eye care specialists, including doctors, optometrists, and technicians whose expertise in this field has made a tremendous difference in the lives of Zambian community and revolutionized the eye care industry in Zambia. I would remiss if did not take this opportunity to thank my husband for his invaluable support. We also found an opportunity and happy to say that we are also the corporate owners of 80-roomed lakeside luxurious resort situated along the banks of Lake Kariba, which is the largest man-made lake in the world, located in Siavonga, Zambia. Savi Beach Resorts employs about 70 service-friendly work staff and skilled Indian management staff. And as an Indian woman by nature, is extremely resilient, innovative, spiritual, and industrious with a strong sense of duty. And I find that to be especially true with the women of Indian diaspora in Zambia. Not only are they committed to community service through many avenues, especially to build the image of India.
Right. In fact, I'm sure Madam Finance Minister will be very, very happy to hear what she mentioned, that ease of doing business that you've been talking about has been helping the entrepreneurs in different parts of the world. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
telling us what you do. And I will now like to invite the next speaker, Ms. Maria Siddiqa Ashraf, Director of Conterfield International School from Tajikistan.
Good afternoon, Honorable Finance Minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, and distinguished guests. It is my great privilege to be a speaker for this session, harnessing the potential of women diaspora entrepreneurs towards an inclusive approach to nation building. I feel truly honored and humbled to have been given this opportunity to share my thoughts in front of this gathering of distinguished guests. It would sound impressive if I would begin by saying that I had been nurturing this passion and dream since a long time. To be honest, I had no plans to own a business or to start. It was my circumstances that moved me to strike out on my own. I would like to quote American talk show host, the famous Oprah. She said, challenges are gifts that force us to search for the new center of gravity. Do not fight them, just find a new way to stand. And I did find a new way to stand. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Maria Ashraf, and I'm an Indian entrepreneur who has built from ground up and organically nurtured the Conterfield International School in Dushanbe, Tajikistan. Just for your information, Tajikistan is a small country in Central Asia near Uzbekistan. Coming back to the challenge that brought out the entrepreneur in me, well, let me begin from the beginning. I traced my roots to Bahraich in Uttar Pradesh and learned my high degree in the area of education from the University of Awadh. As my father was in army, I have lived in many parts of India. My marriage to an NRI took me to shores abroad. As motherhood came calling, there was unbridled joy. The arrival of my firstborn son filled me the love I never knew resided within me. To every mother, their child is a special, and mine is very special. He's a special child with lot of difficulties. Because he was with me and we as a family, we were so happy with him that he didn't realize that he is a special child. So when he became 4 years old, I was looking for a kindergarten for him, play school. And I took him to a play school and he refused to go to that play school because he thought he's a normal child. एंड देन व्हाट आई थॉट, मैं तो माँ हूँ ना, मुझे तो उसके लिए सोचना था कि अगर उसने रिफ्यूज़ कर दिया उस स्कूल को जाना, और जिस कंट्री में मैं थी वहाँ पे मिक्स स्कूल नहीं था कि स्पेशल बच्चे और नॉर्मल बच्चे एक साथ पढ़ रहे हो, तो मेरे बच्चे ने तो स्पेशल स्कूल में जाना रिफ्यूज़ कर दिया। तो मैंने, मेरा घर बहुत बड़ा है और मेरे पास काफ़ी हेल्पर्स हैं, तो मैंने सोचा कि नेबरहुड से बच्चों को बुला के घर में ले आऊँगी और उनको पढ़ाऊँगी, और साथ में मेरा बच्चा जो है वो भी उनके साथ पढ़ेगा और खेलेगा। मुझे नहीं पता था कि ये जो मेरी छोटी सी बिगनिंग है ये एक बड़ा स्कूल का शेप ले लेगी। वो बच्चे जो नेबरहुड में थे, मेरे यहाँ आते थे, उन्होंने कहा ठीक है प्ले स्कूल फिनिश हो गया, अब हमारे बच्चे ग्रेड 1 में जाएंगे, लेकिन हम बहुत हैप्पी हैं आपके किंडरगार्टन से, तो आप स्कूल क्यों नहीं खोल लेती। तो फिर विद हेल्प ऑफ माय हस्बैंड मैंने जो है एक छोटा सा स्कूल खोला टिल ग्रेड 1 और 2। फिर वो बच्चे जब ग्रेड 2 के 3 में आए तो पेरेंट्स ने कहा हम दूसरे स्कूल में नहीं ले जाएंगे, इसी को एक्सपैंड कीजिए। तो अब हमारा स्कूल ये एक्सपैंड करते करते 12th ग्रेड तक हो गया है। मेरा स्कूल दूसरे स्कूल से क्यों डिफरेंट है, वो इस वजह से क्योंकि मेरे स्कूल में सिर्फ मेरा बच्चा एक स्पेशल चाइल्ड पहले था, फिर एक पेरेंट ने अपना बच्चा मेरे स्कूल में भेजा जिन्होंने पहले से नहीं मुझे बताया कि वो एक स्पेशल चाइल्ड है, वो ADHD उसको प्रॉब्लम थी। उन्होंने बोला मेरा बच्चा जो है वो थोड़ा सा एक्टिव है, तो प्लीज टेक केयर ऑफ हिम। तो हम लोगों ने सोचा बच्चे तो एक्टिव होते ही हैं, कोई बात नहीं। धीरे धीरे रियलाइज किया इन अ वीक और 2 कि इस बच्चा सिर्फ एक्टिव नहीं है, इसको और भी कुछ हेल्प चाहिए। अब मैं तो माँ हूँ, मैंने अपने बच्चे के लिए स्कूल खोल दिया, तो मैं किसी के दूसरे बच्चे को कैसे कह दूंगी आप दूसरे स्कूल ले जाइए। तो मैंने क्या किया, अपने टीचर से बात की और मैंने कहा कि क्या हम इस बच्चे को, क्योंकि हमारे टीचर स्किल्ड नहीं थे, तो हमने कहा अगर हम अपना 100% डालें इसमें और इस बच्चे को एक चैलेंज की तरह लें और इस बच्चे को अपने स्कूल में पढ़ाएं। तो सबने कहा रेडी, वी आर रेडी। तो हम लोगों ने उस बच्चे को अपने स्कूल में एडमिशन दे दिया, मतलब पहले से ही एडमिशन था, उसे हटाया नहीं। फिर अब चैलेंज एक था कि नॉर्मल बच्चे जो हैं उनके पेरेंट्स क्या कहेंगे कि ये तो बच्चा बहुत एक्टिव है, कभी कभी जो है स्कूल में भागना ये सब शुरू कर देता है, क्लास में एकदम से खड़ा हो जाता है, उसका क्या करेंगे। तो हमने एक असिस्टेंट टीचर क्लास में रख ली जो उसकी टेक केयर करती थी उस बच्चे की, और वो धीरे धीरे बच्चा जो है मंथ में नहीं डेज में वो चेंज होने लग गया। क्योंकि उससे पहले उसके कोई फ्रेंड्स नहीं थे। अब क्योंकि वो बच्चा जो है वो नॉर्मल बच्चों के साथ रह रहा था, तो उस बच्चे को बर्थडे पार्टीज में इनविटेशन मिलने लग गए, उस बच्चे के साथ लोग फ्रेंडशिप करने लग गए, और वो धीरे धीरे बच्चा चेंज हो गया। और उसकी मदर ने फिर ट्रांसफ़र नहीं लिया किसी और कंट्री में, क्योंकि वो चाहती हैं टिल ग्रेड 12 वो बच्चा यहीं रहे और पढ़े, क्योंकि उन्होंने चेंज देखा उस बच्चे में कितना है।
What a wonderful story. And I would like to go to Honorable Finance Minister, Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman, for this very quickly. Doesn't it remind you of what Honorable Prime Minister had told each one of us when pandemic came, that turned this crisis into an opportunity, something that she very nicely could do?
Absolutely. Yeah. This is a classic case of how you see an opportunity and make it easy for yourself, but eventually you see that there's a larger purpose that you can serve. And that's where it's commendable, the work that you have done, and immensely appreciation worthy.
We'll now like to invite Ms. Devki Kimji, Managing Director of Al Turki Al Tasnim Groups, who's come from Oman, to briefly tell us what her journey has been like, what were her struggles.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Yeah. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for having me. It's a huge honor and privilege to be here. I know it's lunchtime, but give me 6 minutes of your time. And if the men here have daughters that are, going to be entrepreneurs or want to be, or some of the women here, I think you'll like to hear my story, which I believe will be, I'd like to inspire you all with it. My name is Devki Kimji. I'm the managing director of Al Tasnim Group of Companies. It's a construction company and a mining company. 30,000 Indian employees' lives depends on what I do every day. I wake up every morning with the conviction to do well, because those many lives depends on what I do, right? I'd like to tell you that this journey was not easy. India and in the rest of the world, a lot of work has been done with women education and equal opportunity for jobs. But female entrepreneurship, there's a lot of work to be done. I think it's just begun. Female entrepreneurship has just begun, right? There are lots of challenges. We know about those, investment, support from institutions, family support. But the biggest challenge we face today is courage and confidence. Our belief system is pivoted with fear and lack of confidence because of centuries of negative comments and lack of a robust support system, right? I'd like to share my story so that, I can inspire the lovely women here or the fathers of daughters that want to start their businesses on how I started. So when I came out of college, I was exploring career opportunities, and I asked my father, can I come to Oman and be part of your construction company? He refused that opportunity because he said that construction is a man's world, and Oman, being a Middle Eastern country, is, female employees are not there. Forget about female leaders. That was 25 years ago, and look how far we've come. I decided that I wasn't going to give up. This comment from my father drove me, and I wanted to start my own business. So I decided, I was interested in fitness, so I decided that I was going to make a business plan, and I made a robust business plan. I was confident of my idea, and I spent a long time trying to answer every single question an investor would want. Of course, I went to my father and I asked him for money, showed him the business plan. he refused and said that it was too risky for him. Um, of course, he didn't say anything much, but encouraged me that if, of course, I was very determined. He said, he encouraged me to go and get it from other financiers, but was clear that he wasn't going to give me a personal guarantee. I worked 1.5 years with different institutes in India to get a loan. I was refused that for 1.5 years, not because my business plan wasn't good, but because, what if I get married? The loan officers would say, this is too risky. What if you get married and your husband doesn't allow you? But I wasn't going to give up because I was confident of my business plan and my idea. So I went and I was driving one day and I saw this billboard with IDBI promoting loans for women. I got hold of a branch manager. He was very excited with my idea and he wanted to support me, but didn't have a fitness product. So he took me to the managing director of IDBI, Mr. Guneet Chadda at the time, and I prepared for hours. I was, waiting for that meeting. So thinking that he's going to ask me all these questions. And he asked me only one question. Why should I give a 22-year-old a loan that has no experience and her father, even though he has the ability to fund her, doesn't want to do so? My answer was simple. I was confident of my capability and my plan. And with my father not funding me, I was even more determined to be successful. He smiled, he looked at that bank manager and said, I don't know why, but this young lady has convinced me. He signed the loan approval there and then in the meeting, and off I went. I paid back the 3-year loan in 6 months. I got funded by NSDC, Skill India, after Skill India mission by Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi in 2015. I have fitness academies. I went on to IT. Then I started India Circus and sold it to Godrej. And finally, of course, after seeing all of this, my father was so proud, he invited me to Oman to run his construction company.
That's a very, very inspiring story. And Honorable Finance Minister, if would like to say something on this, because access to finance is a very, very big concern here in India. Also, you've come out with a number of policies to ensure all entrepreneurs, not just women entrepreneurs, get the access to finance. How better the scenario is today, ma'am?
I was just listening to the story and I was telling myself as to what am I hearing. And of course, all of us are familiar with this kind of a story. But here's the question which links me to this experience and making it more relevant for all of us to be seated together, talking into each other's experiences. This is exactly the kind of problem which every woman, irrespective of the background she comes from, or irrespective of the kind of business she wants to do, faces. Now, here was somebody whose father could have given her the assistance. Probably he was also drawing that, spirit in her to fight it out and prove herself, whatever be it. But here was a family of father, mother who could have supported. There are immense number of women whose parents can't support, who do not have the wherewithal to support. Even they have an aspiration. Even they have a dream. And as much as our friend here, these women can also prove themselves and be successful. And this is where I do take this opportunity to say, I remember when PM Mudra scheme was launched. It is a scheme through which women who are doing businesses, men also, but both women and men, who cannot give any security or pledge any asset or put any guarantor behind to come forward to support her or him, who wanted to do a business, who wanted the banks to give them working kind of capital or some loan so that they can do their business forward. Otherwise, in India, in majority of the rural areas where people know one another by their face, less in urban areas, but wherever the middlemen were giving money at very high interest rate for businesses to do, and these kind of small businesses can't even afford it, but they had no other go. And I know from my personal experience that when I was living in a town, small town, uh, vegetable vendors in that place, which is actually very rich and green and very fertile area, vegetable vendors would go every morning to a middleman and say, today I need to buy vegetables for around 500 rupees, sell it through the day, and in the evening I'll pay you back. The system was well entrenched. So for the 500 rupees, he would already cut some money and then only give them. If I were to say it in 100 rupees, so you'll be able to calculate the percentage. So 100 rupee worth of vegetables I want to buy and sell and come back in the evening to pay you back, he would give you only 90 rupees in hand. So the vegetable vendor will get only 90 rupees, although his borrowing is 100 rupees, meaning 10 rupees is already cut. 90 rupees, he'll go to the market, buy wholesale market, he buy the vegetables, come sell, and in the evening he go and he'll pay back 100 rupees. So every day for 100 rupees borrowed, he would pay 10 rupees. If this is calculated, what will be the annual rate of interest? You can imagine. So that is how usurious this kind of middleman's business was. So when Prime Minister Modi launched PM Mudra scheme, it was aimed at helping street vendors, small fellows who are going on a cart and selling vegetables, fruits, flowers, or some kind of knickknacks for the children or for the women in the house. They didn't have huge capital. They didn't have a money lender who can give them without interest or without security. They knew them, so they would give it. But through the public sector banks, the Prime Minister made a statement. You don't need to give any security. The Prime Minister is the security for this. And then extended the Prime Minister Mudra scheme, wherein I'm glad to say more than 50% are going to women small entrepreneurs. 70% now, I'm glad to be corrected. So then, these small street vendors, small merchants, who did not have to fall prey to the middlemen, are now getting, without security, loans from the bank so that they can do the business. In between, there was this thing about, oh, these mudra loans are becoming non-performing assets, meaning people are not returning the money in time, nor are they servicing the loan in time, and so on. No, the data shows that the NPAs are the minimum, less than 5%. So people are absolutely doing their business with this kind of help and servicing their loans. So that help which is so needed, in which they can't bring in securities, which they don't have guarantors to give. Indian government, because it has kept its ears to the ground, has understood this need and fulfilled this requirement for small businesses to thrive with bank support. Thank you.
Ma'am, with your kind permission, could we also take some questions from the audience? Just a few questions. Kindly raise your hands. Two requests, keep the question very, very short, and please identify yourself first. Okay, the gentleman here. Yes,
Hello.
yes.
Yeah. Kudos to all the women sitting there. I think a
Second,
round of
1
applause
second.
for all of you. And quickly, I would just would like to thank Honorable Finance Minister for bringing all the data. And also, ma'am, as you said, India could be China plus one or EU plus one under your leadership. We would look forward to people saying we could be India plus one at a later date.
Thank you very much.
My question is something related to the global INR trade that India had opened with Russia and everybody else. I am Kishore Reddy, the president of the Sri Lanka India Society and the vice chair of the Indian CEO Forum. And I thought this would be a great opportunity to get your views, because in terms of Russia, of course, there is excess of rupees that they would purchase from us. So we have balance of trade in favor of Russia,
Okay.
and we could use it. How could we use in terms of Sri Lanka, because there would be less money coming in? How can the women
All
set
right.
up something
Thank
here
you. Thank you,
which could
sir.
actually
Thank you.
be
Let's take one more question. The gentleman here in the second row. Yes, sir. Can you have the mic, please?
This 180 or whatever number of days has to be relaxed for people who are held up in India during the COVID period. That's the only request and special
Thank
appeal
you.
from the NRIs.
Thank you very much.
So this is Rahul from Shekunj. My question is to Dr.
Excuse me,
Poonam.
please ask questions related to the session. This
Yeah.
is not a session where you can ask questions on any topic. There is a theme, there is a topic, and please ask your questions related to the topic. And please be brief. I'm sorry for interruption, but this was needed.
My question is to Dr. Poonam. Dr. Poonam Gupta, you have already supported in the time of COVID, and you have allotted some concentrator, right? I just wanted to know, as a woman entrepreneur, you are doing a lot as a CSR activist. What is your plan for, as a woman activist, what is your plan for the next CSR activities in India? Do you have something?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question. I'm always working on multiple things, especially in women education and entrepreneurship. I'm the chair for FICCI, India UK Manufacturing and Trading Council. Currently, we are looking at multiple projects across India where products can be made in India with women and exported all over the world. And these products are not necessarily in the traditional women industries. We are looking at IT, we are looking at robotics, and I'm working with multiple organizations to see where all we can harness the entrepreneurship in India and connect our diaspora across the world with them so we can actually do much more business in India internationally. Thank you.
You also had mentioned in your opening remarks, it's an aspirational India looking at participation in the world, and our aim should be to be engine of growth for the rest of the world. You heard these 6 wonderful women telling us their stories. There used to be a time when India used to give the world engineers, doctors, but now it seems India is giving the world entrepreneurs. So what kind of role can they play for nation building? How can they give it back to the society from where they went and became the leaders?
Well, that's an area which is very wide. Certainly, each one of them can contribute from their experience abroad as to what can be done in India, which can again have a audience or a market elsewhere. That is one simple abstract way in which I can put it, but in concrete action-oriented ways, they can always be joint ventures. They can always be mutually assisting. Some can be technological assistance, which we can provide, or financial assistance in terms of equity capital, which can come in from investors abroad, which are Indian diaspora investors. Or you can always look at that district to which you belong and come and support the program of the government there for promotion of one of those products. The one district, one product is something which I purposely put before you. After all, somewhere you will trace your origin to one of the districts in India. So you may want to come and see how that particular product can find market in the place where you live. Simple as that. Or even you set up production centers here and find markets elsewhere. So there are ever so many opportunities for that kind of an entrepreneurial collaboration between Indian diaspora and India.
Any questions that our guests here who are present today on the stage have for Honorable Finance Minister? Anything that you want the country to do so that you can be the real brand ambassador? Because now you all have a huge responsibility. Let's start with you. Yes.
So I do believe that as a country, as the world, we're doing a lot for, you know, as we said, institutional loans or equal opportunity. I think there's a lot to be done as far as confidence and courage that women need to have. We all, including myself, comes from what I call a traditionally progressive family, right? It sounds like I'm putting two contradictory words together, but that's what I mean. You know, the choice of career, oh, lawyers are too argumentative, doctors get called in, you know, it's got to be family worthy. These are things that all women hear all the time. If these kind of things are ingrained, we lose that confidence and courage. So as a country and as parents, as women, we should celebrate stories, success stories, because courage is contagious, right? And hope has a life of its own. Thank you.
And I remember a couple of days back only, Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman was speaking to a young girl in Kota who asked her specifically about the ups and downs she faces on a regular basis. And it was a very beautiful message that ma'am gave to her. Would you like to say that and, you know, maybe inspire those who are listening to you right now?
Not so much for the message that I gave. This was one young girl, maybe in 11th class or 12th, I mean, as you would call 11th grade or 12th grade, and trying to enter into medical education. It was, I mean, I felt some, you know, something tugging at my heart when I saw her speak. She had tears in her eyes. But she was so expressive to say, look, there are just too many ups and downs. I'm preparing to become a doctor, enter into a medical college. But it's so challenging. Some days are so bad, some days are so good. And it was like everybody in the audience, similarly placed, mostly girls who are trying to get into engineering or medicine. All of them were hesitant to ask, but she dared to say, look, this much of ups and downs, it's sometimes disorienting. I feel very down sometimes. So all that I could tell her was, it's first of all supremely courageous of her to stand up and ask this question while the rest of them didn't. And the fact that she stood up and asked itself says that she's identified the problem, that there are challenges, there are ups and downs, not every day is the same thing. So all that I could tell her was, you've identified the problem, that itself is half the bridge crossed. And I'm sure with the kind of confidence with which you're standing up and speaking here, you'll be able to do the rest. And the one thing which was so personal to me, because it really touched my heart. So I said, if I were close to you, I would have come and given you a tight hug, because it's such a, you know, live, standing up and speaking and saying, look, it's not easy, it's so trying, it is so hard sometimes, so much of ups and downs for a 16, 17-year-old girl. So I said, don't worry. I mean, that was the conversation. But I thought it was so evocative of how every teenager feels, because the challenges are so much. Parents' expectations are so much. Investment in that education is so much. They get burdened within 16th year to think, can I make it? Will I fulfill the dreams of my parents? Actually, it is the fulfillment of their own dreams which they have to look at. But of course, the education system being what it is, parents' expectation being what it is, we all put it on the children saying, no, you should become a doctor, you should become an engineer, otherwise you don't have a bright future. But look at the women here. They've all had beautifully designed career for themselves. I wish we invest in our children to tell them, do what you feel like, do that which you dream, and we are with you. We'll give you the confidence. You'll make it big, don't worry. That's what I think we should do to our children.
Beautiful. Closing comments, Yes, Kavita.
Fantastic advice, I think, for anyone. If you do what you love, the world will be a better place. But I also think as women entrepreneurs, what we bring, obviously men and women are not the same. But what is beautiful about women is we bring a nurturing culture into society. What you just said, I would go hug someone, the way we care for human beings. And I think the world needs nurturing right now. We need to build a 100-year business plan and not a 3-year business, what we women bring to the table. But thank you, yes.
Thank you. It's only a word of encouragement, I think, that is required. The confidence, that a person really needs whenever there are ups and downs. But that was a beautiful message, and that's the reason why I wanted to speak about it today, because the women who are sitting with you, ma'am, today here on the stage, they had that courage, but life wasn't really easy for them. They were very, very young, most of them, who went abroad, left their own homeland, but today they are back here as the entrepreneurs. Thank you very much, all of you. With this, we would like to conclude this session. It was the last plenary session of this event. Lunch follows, and of course, there is a big event after that as well. Thank you very much, all of you.